Phew, Assassin's Creed 2 is coming along nicely. Let's take a rest back at Mother Base.
Nice work today, boss.
Thank you, Pequod.
Welcome back, boss.
Yep.
Another successful mission.
Not really. I wasn't able to seduce that guy.
Great to see you safe, boss.
Raging Alligator, we need to have a serious chat about what happened last Thursday. Do not think I forgot. And then there's you.
Snake, you stink.
You know, I came back here to take a shower. Not a cold one, mind you, but I guess I'm good to go now. Well, anyway, let's get back down to business. Last we left off, Huey told us that XOF was moving over to Central Africa to find something even more dangerous than Metal Gear. So we've expanded our contract boundary to that area. And pretty quickly we get a big job. They want us to blow up a gosh dang oil field. But we shouldn't just waltz into this unknown territory without knowing the unknown. The goons we're sneaking past this time aren't Soviets like in Afghanistan, but rather private militaries. You see, apparently when Big Boss quote-unquote died, he left behind a quote-unquote legacy that Cypher needs to be stopped no matter what or who does it. So tons of people have set up their own mother bases, whether they be on ocean or land, and the majority of them work toward building a nuclear weapon to point directly at Zero's house, wherever that may be. But of course, Big Boss never said any of that stuff about Cypher. He wanted nothing to do with them, and we still don't really. Our beef's with XOF. He didn't want to stand up to them, let alone with nukes. But all of these militias played a game of telephone over the years and landed on that story. They were so entrenched in this lie that they didn't notice the truth right in front of them. Now, how does Central Africa factor into this? Well, it's not quite as relevant as the story in Afghanistan with the Mujahideen. All you really need to know is that there's a civil war going on, and both the Republic of Angola and the Republic of Zaire had a bunch of land in the border region that needed watching over in the meantime. And so, 3 of these private militaries, or private forces, were hired to look after it. The CFA, Rogue Coyote, and Zero Risk Security. While most PFs are rivals, these ones aren't very much. They've got an agreement to stay on their designated land and not bother each other, unless it's to do business. But you can bet your little tutor that they'll be hostile to us. Maybe most private forces idolize us, but there are still plenty that only exist to capitalize on the war market. And that's the story. In order to not have to clarify which military is which every time, I'll just be calling the enemies PFs. So, on to the mission. There's been an oil spill that's contaminating the water supply. One of the PFs were hired by a group going by UNITA to guard the place. But they weren't told to do anything about the situation, so the oil just keeps leaking. So it's up to us to go in there and blow it to the heavens. Let's do it. Immediately, we could see the effect that this oil spill has had on the place. The ground that we landed on is covered in oily sludge. I can only imagine what it's doing to the drinking water. Making our way to the first outpost, we could see that things might be a little different here. Back in Afghanistan, the majority of the place was sand. But here, there's greenery, dirt, both clean, dirty, and oily, and more concrete. I'm gonna have to be much more particular about the camo I bring with me in the field. The guards are the same with their AI, although it's worth noting that UNITA supplied them with modern weapons. We'll die quicker in a fight. But overall, there shouldn't be much to make things more Are those children? Child soldiers. They've been in the series since Metal Gear 2, but I never thought we'd see them this up close. Did UNITA hire this PF to train these kids, or are they just doing it for their own purposes? Either way, we should definitely avoid a fight. I don't want them getting caught in any crossfire. Alright, I've gotten far enough to call D-Horse. Although I'm covered in oil thanks to crawling around in it, hopefully it won't make me easier to spot. And if it rains, then I'm just fucked. Jesus Christ, things are really bad here. I didn't even go off the beaten path and I found a burnt down village, complete with piles of charred bodies. Really wearing that age rating with pride this time, huh? Well, I could still save one poor soul. Fly, my child, and live another day. Alright, oil facility. What we need to do is shut down the transfer pump and then blow up the oily water separator tank. Neither are working as intended anymore.
That smoke is loaded with sulfides. It would certainly explain the acid rain in the region. What? Never seen a chimney before? Wait, You're not getting any ideas, are you? Don't go playing Santa Claus.
So for the first major base we're going through in Africa, this is pretty hard. Trying to get to the separator tank is a major pain in the ass. There's always at least one guy guarding the entrance and 4 guys patrolling the area. The best you could really do is to let them see you, move away from the gate to check, and pray that they don't turn around before you're done picking the lock. I don't think I've ever gotten in here without some sort of trouble. Either way, I've rigged it to blow. But the explosion is definitely going to shake things up in the base, so before I do that, let's go to the transfer pump. This part isn't nearly as difficult, but it takes a lot more patience due to its narrow path.
Bodies. Why?
What the fuck is this? I thought this was an oil facility. And those tumor-looking things... What is this? Alright, no time to think about that. Let's blow this separator tank. Ah, shit. Were there people near that? Ah, fuck, I didn't think about casualties. And are those walker gears? I thought that was an XOF thing. I don't know, man. I keep fucking up the kill list run, and there are child soldiers, and I've seen 70 dead bodies since I got here, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm covered in oil. I just want to go home. Well, I don't actually have to escape the base to beat the mission. You see, I have a new trick up my sleeve. You remember the Fulton upgrade I got that let me take vehicles? Well, that's not all it can do. There are large metal crates holding various materials scattered around both maps.
Boss, that container is filled with feces. Bring it back to base. It's sure to be useful sometime.
With the upgrade, you can Fulton them as well. And if you stand on top of one when doing that... I love that you can do this. It's never told to you, so you have to figure it out yourself. And one time I saw it and was like, what would happen if I Fultoned it on top? And ever since I got my answer, life has been on the up and up. And with that, we passed the mission.
You were born for these sorts of games.
Side objectives wise, it's nothing too special. There's one for extracting the walker gears that enclose the base after the explosion, and another for escaping before they can enclose it. But I took care of that one with my getaway plan. There's also one for extracting the 4 child soldiers, but at this point that's really annoying. The Fulton isn't equipped to handle children. The whiplash would kill them. Although it didn't damage a puppy, but they probably didn't think about that. So I had to bring each of them to the helicopter. And to get that done faster, I had to put 3 of them in a car and drive all the way to a drop-off point to put them on. But then there was still one left, so I moved the helicopter back to where I started to bring that kid there. I wouldn't recommend doing this until you have the proper upgrades. With that done, we're free to roam the fields of Africa and take more jobs, as well as side ops. They aren't very different here than they were in Afghanistan. Highly skilled soldier, little lost sheep, heavy infantry, etc. But don't worry. It never gets old. Although there is a unique one. Apparently there's a legendary gunsmith patrolling one of the outposts here. It's a regular soldier extraction sideout, there's nothing special to it. But what's worth noting is that he is actually a legendary gunsmith. And joining the R&D team, he grants us the ability to do something I have been waiting for. You can now customize weapons. And hoo boy, is this totally worth it. It's a pretty standard customization system, but in a game like this, it's incredibly useful. Because you can take a weapon that has strengths and weaknesses and then buff out those weaknesses by using parts from a different weapon. For instance, I have a tranq sniper that doesn't have a silencer, but I do have a lethal sniper with a silencer, so now I can take that beautiful cylinder and put it on the delicate rifle, and then color it blue to emphasize that it's not lethal. You know, kind of like how reptiles have some markings on them to indicate that they're poisonous, except it's the opposite this time. But you could make an absolute shitpost of a weapon if you want. Just look at this freak in nature. Or I can make the Patriot, but with a silencer. That probably would have helped its original wielder. If you want, you can give your non-lethal sniper an underbarrel grenade launcher to give it a better air of tranquility. Or you can give it a tranq pistol because fuck it, why not? Let's give our gun a gun. Speaking of repetition, Huey's got something he wants to tell us. You remember that walker gear we used to run from Sahelanthropus? Well, he's gone and made some upgrades for it. and now it's ready for use in the field. In fact, it's not just counted as a vehicle, it's a buddy like D-Dog and D-Horse. Ladies and gentlemen, meet D-Walker, the multi-purpose speedy freak of mechanical engineering. As opposed to our other two buddies, this thing's a bit more complicated. To start, you might remember that I said walker gears are pretty bad for stealth due to its large size and loud footsteps. And it's also not very fast, pretty sure I can get to places quicker if I sprint. Well, this was taken into consideration for D-Walker. It now has 3 forms of movement. First, it has its regular jog. It's most useful if you want to traverse rocky terrain, that's what Metal Gears were given legs for after all. But with the press of the X button, the legs collapse into themselves to make room for wheels. And these wheels make far less noise than footsteps. Using this mode along with giving it proper camo makes stealth surprisingly not so bad. But wait, we're not done. Now that we're in wheel mode, if we then hold square, we start burning some rubber. And it's the fastest way to traverse the map. No vehicle can match D-Walker's speed. Its turning can be a bit strict at times and the swerving is a little over the top, but aside from that, it's the best way to travel. But again, we're not done, because D-Walker has its own arsenal of weapons. It has the mounted Gatling gun on its side that it did before, but you can swap it out for a missile launcher, a high-voltage stun gun, or a Fulton ballista that does extraction work for you. But to add on to that, it's got guns that pop out of the torso. A set of handguns, silenced trank guns, or even submachine guns. But hold on, you still think we might be done. You neglected to notice its arm. While the older walker gears had one to lift things, this one can do much more. It can punch people into the air for an instant KO. You can give it a machete to swing around. Or you can do CQC with the robot. Robot CQC. Now, you must be thinking, well, does this metallic god figure have any downsides? And the answer is, of course, kind of. If you happen to park D-Walker too close to an outpost and a guard sees it, he'll immediately open fire. If they see D-Dog or D-Horse, they'll just shoo them away because they're animals. But a weird-looking walker gear is a bit more suspicious. And if you let that keep happening, it'll eventually break down and have to be taken in for repairs. But that's all undone by the fact that you very quickly get an upgrade for it that gives it the ability to use stealth camo when you have it parked. And that's about everything so far for D-Walker. We have a portable Metal Gear at our disposal with guns, strength, and most importantly, speed. Poor D-Horse, right? Yeah, unfortunately, he's kinda obsolete now. He still has 2 things above D-Walker, and that's that you can use your own weapons when riding him, and who can forget a new breed of stealth. But aside from that, Huey's invention just outclasses the stallion. A pretty big advantage that it has over D-Horse is that it doesn't take any fall damage. Just look at the comparison here. So, we unfortunately won't be seeing much of him anymore. Damn robots taking all the horse's jobs. At least I was able to raise his bond up all the way. Now I can change his color. I made him black as opposed to the boss's white horse, as a way of saying, Jesus Christ, the boss would absolutely not want this, but I'm a gamer, so I'm gonna do it anyway. Alright, now that we're done horsing around, let's get back to business. This next mission was only really taken as a means to assist us. Apparently there were some British fellas that were taken prisoner by one of the PFs. They're being interrogated for some reason, and we've been asked to rescue one of them, known as the Viscount. The reason we took this job is that much like the Soviets in the beginning, I don't understand the language that these PFs are speaking. In this case, Afrikaans. And neither do these British prisoners. So the interrogator is going to be accompanied by an interpreter. So basically we're gonna snag the interpreter along with the Viscount. Let's go. We don't know where exactly the Viscount is, but we do know that this interrogator-interpreter duo will eventually get to him. But first, we have to tail them and sit through their first little chats with the others. Stealth is more vital here than in any mission before. If they even enter caution mode, they could choose not to go to the Viscount, or worse, have him killed. So we really need to be patient and careful. But as long as we're forced to follow these guys, why not see if there's anything interesting to hear? Well, it seems this PF is upset about that oil field incident and believes these guys have something to do with it. There was some shady business involving the oil field rights acquisition, but apparently all the intel the British received came from an anonymous source. That's all that's needed from this one, and it's time to move on to the next. But maybe we can do a better job getting intel from this guy with our hospitality tactics. The location of the next interrogation, Kaziba Camp, is kind of a cruel place to put it. It's crowded, guards are everywhere. But with some tenacity, we can find a snug spot to listen in. Understandably, the PF doesn't believe that they would go for information about the oil field rights based on some rando's words. But it's the darned truth, and the Viscount is the one who relayed this intel to them. Honestly, the Viscount seems pretty fucking shady himself if this is what got him into this mess. All this tells the interrogators that he'll be the one to cough up what they want to hear. From here, they start walking for about a minute in one direction before turning around and going the opposite way as if they know I'm here and are fucking with me. And I'll tell you, it did fuck with me. But if we snoop around while they're doing that, we can find an intel file showing the exact location and route that the Viscount is being taken. We could go and grab him now, but honestly, I'm curious to see what the man has to say for himself. So let's just go to the interrogation point and listen in one last time. The Viscount doesn't know who the informant was either. He kinda just tells them to go fuck themselves, but then for some reason seems to get upset when they say they're gonna kill him. What did you expect? We've heard all that we need. Time to rescue this weirdo. And of course, take the interpreter as well.
Roger.
Snake, do you like my windshield wipers? Not so bipedal anymore, my brother. That's right, I'm a fucking helicopter now!
Well, that takes care of that, so now let's talk about the other stuff. I kinda have a love-hate relationship with this mission. Love for the reason that it's one of those missions that gets made significantly shorter with better knowledge. If you remember where the intel file said the Viscount was being held before interrogation, on repeat playthroughs you could just run straight to him, mission accomplished. I like that, it rewards players who pay extra attention. Now the side objectives kinda fucking suck. It's all average stuff on the surface. Mainly listen to all 3 interrogations and rescue all the prisoners. As I said before, the second interrogation is a bit tricky to listen in on, but it's doable. But what you might not remember is that I didn't show myself rescuing the 2 in the camp. That's because it's really hard without getting put on caution mode. Before the interrogator and the interpreter start walking to the Viscount, they decide to hang out in the house right next to them for like a whole minute. And it's only right after they're done with that and move far away enough that the other guys kill the prisoners. You have an extremely small window to rescue them and not get in any trouble. And then there's the Viscount interrogation itself. You might have noticed that I didn't have the best angle when I was listening in. Well, there is a better place to look from, a window right on the very house it all goes down. But I wasn't able to do it from there because of a glitch. When you're too far to the Viscount, the interrogation never starts. They all just stand there for eternity. So I had to go back a checkpoint and be a little further away. No biggie, right? Well, the last checkpoint was before the second interrogation, which was a whole 10 minutes earlier, by the way, because even though the duo drove here in a car, they decided it was a good idea to slowly walk in the wrong direction before slowly walking all the way back to the interrogation room. But whatever, I'm here and I've got some distance, and where the fuck is the Viscount? He should have been here by now. Turns out, a different glitch has occurred. The guy who was escorting the Viscount just stopped moving after about 10 feet and went back to his post, leaving the Viscount just lying there again for eternity. Give this guy a raise. I assume this was caused by one of them not loading in properly or something. So after once again going through the second interrogation, I made a beeline to the Viscount to make sure they'd start moving, and then went to my distance position to wait for another 5 minutes. And that is how you're seeing this footage. Do you see why this shit takes a while? It can be very draining. But yeah, good job KJP for making this mission, but like, fuck you KJP for making this mission. Anyway, turns out the Viscount's shadiness was for good reason. He was the one behind the whole oil field rights shenanigans, and he was willing to screw over this PF doing it. So it makes sense why they were pissed off about it, honestly. And when people started to suspect him, he tried to pin the blame on the first few British people he saw, which could very well have gotten them killed if I hadn't put 20 hours into this mission. To top it all off, turns out the client who put us up to rescuing him was him. And he never told us to rescue the others. We'll put him in Mother Base jail and try to reform him into joining, I don't know, the intel team. I don't give a shit. We have all that nonsense out of the way, but something's been bugging me about what happened 2 missions ago. What were those bodies in the oil field? Every one of them in view had these awful, I want to call them tumors, but to be that large and that pronounced? I guess it's possible, but with that many of them having 2 in the same exact place, cancer isn't contagious. And another thing, the walker gears. Why are they there, and why do PFs have their hands on them? They were made by Huey and only belong to XOF. Could it be that they've been giving them out? According to Ocelot, they've hit the black market, and now anyone with money can have one. Makes sense, they're extremely useful. Especially mine. I suppose we can call this a smooth transition because the next job is about the walker gears. An opposing force has contracted us to eliminate the bipeds that the PFs are using in an abandoned village they're post. Although, once again, we're only taking this job to fuel our own ambitions. If we destroy someone's supply of walker gears, they're gonna need a resupply, so they'll call up where they got it from to buy some more. You see where I'm going with this? Doing our own sleuthing, we can get to this supplier and deal with their skull-faced leader. My, what dastardly scheming. My mustache is twirling with anticipation. So, admittedly, this is kind of a nothing mission. There are 4 walker gears placed in the village, but it's not like they're scattered around. There are 2 in one area at the edge and 2 on the other side of that same edge. It's a very short crouch walk from one to the next. Sure, there are some guards in the way, and the killless run is making me extract the mechs instead of blowing them up as to not accidentally hurt anyone near them. But it's hard for me to talk about my experience here in more than a few sentences. Side objectives wise, there are some prisoners in the camp. Besides that, you have to extract a random truck and funny flowers once again. That's it, that's all there is to it. I will say that it's impressive that it took us this long to get to a mission like this. Unless you want to count episode 2, but I don't. I won't hold it against the game.
Mission complete, boss. I'm in love with you. Ever since we first met, I've been imagining our future together. I may only have one arm and leg as well as partial blindness, but I'll tell you what's completely intact is my heart. As well as my very large penis.
As we predicted, they called for a resupply. Tracing the call back, we find out that the ones doing the supplying is a company called Saner, which, fun fact, was the company that owned the oil field. An oil company also supplying mechs to private forces? Very suspicious.
So Saner was just a front for Cypher.
You mean XOF, right? Was I not supposed to figure out that Cypher has very little to do with this yet? Seemed pretty obvious when Ocelot said that Skullface was no longer associated with Zero, but maybe that's just my big smart brain. Either way, this leads wonderfully to our next mission. It seems that the distributor isn't being compensated with simple money. The area of Africa we're in is home to many diamond mines, as well as sources of gold and all that fun stuff. There's a convoy facilitated by various PFs that regularly take these materials to a mysterious buyer. All heavily guarded, mind you. It's likely that this buyer is XOF, but it's doubtful that they just want some diamonds in exchange for all these walker gears. There's probably something much more valuable to them, or even us, in this convoy. We are to track it down and steal the valuable materials to throw a wrench into XOF's plans. Easy enough. The escort unit is supposedly stationed in this camp, but by the time we get here, they've already left. According to a helpful bystander, though, there's an intel file on where they're heading in the camp. Apparently, the goods are being held by a truck currently in Nova Braga Airport. The escort unit is currently heading there to get the party started. With D-Walker's superior speed, I can easily beat them there. Really quick side tangent, but I had to hide a few guys in dumpsters in this mission. Am I the only one bothered by the fact that they visibly disappear before you shut the lid? Couldn't they have just made them despawn like a second later? The airport's a big place, but luckily the way I entered from was pretty close to the target. As usual, we could just extract the truck and leave, but I'm sure we'll hear some juicy pieces of intel if we tail it for a while. The escort unit arrives fashionably late. If we've got 2 armored vehicles guarding this thing in a pretty quiet part of the country, just how valuable can this stuff be? Well, according to the transport driver, even the people who facilitated this don't know. In fact, a rumor started that if you look at the truck's contents without permission, you get possessed by God. I mean, it is a Kojima game, I guess anything's possible. Anyway, let's get moving. The convoy moves kinda slow, so my impatient ass kept getting caught because I wanted to move faster. That's my own fault, but I still wanted to say it because I like talking to you. They stop at a different guard post and the transport driver has another talk with a guard about even more supernatural things. There's apparently a jungle around the border where a bunch of PF soldiers have gone missing. They say it could be ghosts doing it, but something about that reeks to me. I just don't know of what. Kinda like if you have a pet that pooped in your house, but you don't know where they did it, so you keep searching around the house to find where oh, they're moving. Lastly, they stop at Gazeba Camp. One of the guys stationed there insists on checking the cargo. Apparently, there's been a bad disease going around and they need to make sure the truck doesn't have anything contagious in it. I don't know how you're gonna find a pathogen with the naked eye, but I suppose you're welcome to give it a shot. Alright, I've heard enough. It's time to take this truck and go home. Oh. Is that why people thought they'd get possessed? Skulls. But I guess XOF decided to bulk them up a little after I destroyed the last batch. Now they're stronger and more durable. And I'd say that that's a very welcome addition. They're pretty tough now. A full clip of an assault rifle doesn't do them in anymore, and even if they did, they don't give you many opportunities to hit them that much. They move around much more, making for fewer windows to attack. That also makes their attacks less predictable. It's easy to feel overwhelmed fighting them. The move that the old ones had where they strengthen the mist has been replaced by an armored state where their skin turns into rocks. It's easy to get rid of, but they certainly don't make things any less stressful. I actually died against these guys once or twice. Luckily, as the convoy contained a few armored vehicles, we can use them to fight against the skulls. And I'll say that it does make the fight a little more elementary. I mean, with how much damage I deal to them, I'll be done with them in a little while. Honestly, at this point, I'm considering taking the truck and hoping they don't want to destroy that. But then I remembered, oh yeah, D-Walker.
You defeated the skulls. I can't believe you took those things out.
Nothing beats science. Well, I'll say that was a lot better than the last Skulls battle. I feel like I actually achieved something by beating them. This calls for a celebration. Man, this joke would have fucking killed it in 2012. Cracking open this truck, we find some malachite, a material typically used for jewelry. But that was likely used as a front for the real cargo, yellow cake. If you're unaware, it's a type of uranium used for nuclear weapons. That's very strange for 3 reasons. Most PFs have an interest in taking down Zero, but the 3 in our area of operations are only in it for business. They have no reason to own Yellowcake. Secondly, we already deduced that XOF is after something much larger than a nuke. Would this new threat also require nuclear power? And thirdly, there was only a small amount in the truck anyway. A single container's worth, which can't make any warhead. Why would XOF be interested in such a minute amount of this stuff? None of this has really gotten us any closer to XOF's front door, it's only left us with more questions. We still don't know what this weapon to surpass Metal Gear is, we don't know what their goal is, and we don't know what the deal with the oil field bodies was. Trust me, I've had my intel team on the case. They've been scouring the land looking for any semblance of an answer to these burning questions, but alas, nothing comes of it. And that seems to have blown up in our faces, because 2 of our intel team members have been kidnapped. Ever since that oil field business, the PFs have kinda hated us. We've been fucking up all their jobs since we've got here, and we always manage to slip away before they can retaliate. So now that they've got their hands on some of us, they're gonna enjoy venting all of their annoyance onto them. This is bad. If either of them dies, not only will it weigh on my conscience, but it'll be a huge hit for morale. You see, though, there's a massive problem with this. We're already busy with a really important mission of our own.
Or the man himself, Sephiroth, who's voiced by Lance Bass of NSYNC.
Dodge this! Meet your fate!
So, for the first time, I'm gonna have to leave this mission in the hands of a allied member of the combat team.
They're counting on you. Don't let them down.
Prior to his extraction and indoctrination into Diamond Dogs, this soldier lived a cozy life as a commander in the Soviet army. His skills in battle were seen as borderline superhuman, and he was always on the front line, saving hundreds of his own comrades in battle. He was even recognized by then Soviet Union leader Yuri Andropov for his extreme bravery as well as his undying loyalty to the motherland. But beneath that unshaken exterior lied a man of wavering faith. Was he on the right end of this conflict? He would never join the filthy dogs in America, but was the motherland any different? He wondered if his time was truly well spent laying waste to the Dushman in Afghanistan, especially because that laying waste was no more than a standstill. During this era of his life, he was most well known for saying, "If a superior told me to kill a civilian, I would kill him instead." A quote so profound that any soldier in earshot needed to walk away to truly soak it in as well as hold back tears. But it was soon after that he made his first true mistake on the battlefield. He always had a soft spot for American music, and when the hit song Kids in America started to play on the radio, he let his guard down to hum along with the chorus. And that's when he was taken by Big Boss, and Silent Mastodon was given a new purpose in life: to serve Diamond Dogs with the confidence he lost in the Soviet Union. Since then, not only have his talents been of great value to the rest of the combat team, but he's even been given multiple service crosses for sticking his neck out to save his brothers at arms while out on deployment missions. Big Boss eventually took notice of him and silently put him on the top of a list only elite members had their names on. If Big Boss were busy with other important matters were an emergency to occur, the person on the top of the list would take care of the problem in his stead. The last one to be at the top was the field medic during the Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes incident, but the vacancy that is passing his left has now finally been filled. Godspeed, Silent Mastodon, and good luck on your quest. I had Huey make an extra D-Walker in case Silent Mastodon were ever to need one. If anyone besides Snake deserves the convenience, it's him. As it turns out, the first intel agent was already in the process of escaping. There's been a search team sent out to this little spot where they think he might be. So Mastodon believes he'll find the agent around here as well. Some might call that a foolish decision, to walk into a den of enemy soldiers off the potential that the target is there. But to a soldier of this caliber, it's not an issue. He doesn't even have the greatest weapons, and yet he takes down his adversaries with ease. While he has some trouble finding the target, he does find a lone eye droid. Only diamond dogs have them, so it must mean the target is nearby. But as he finishes scanning it for any viruses, because he's a very careful man, reinforcements arrive. Heavies. They've only been shown to take damage through explosives and extremely heavy impacts from things like vehicles. But if Mastodon does anything like this, he'd give his position away for sure. But then it hits him. A trick that Big Boss taught him personally. A throw so powerful it'll knock anyone out, even if they're padded with armor. He hasn't tested it out since he first learned it. Can he replicate it on the fly? Please work, he thinks as he paces toward the guard. Another job well done, Mastodon! And thanks to his hyper senses, the impact of the second guard hitting the ground let him find the target through echolocation. Now it's time to go for the second one. Apparently they're in Kaziba camp. Hearing those words, Mastodon has a brain blast, remembering a time from years ago when Big Boss was telling him a story about one of his missions. He recalls hearing about a Kaziba camp with 2 British prisoners. They were being interrogated next to some cages. So he searches for cages and quickly finds them. And of course, in a nearby hole lies the second target. This one's too injured to be Fulton like the last, so he has to be carried by Mastodon's big strong arms to a helicopter. Out of empathy, he tells the wounded soldier to let out all of his woes, and he'll take them head on. Apparently, the PFs were blaming diamond dogs for the disease. While Mastodon doesn't have any context to this, we do. There have been multiple references to a disease throughout the game. The last mission mentioned one going around, the bodies at the oil field are probably the result of one. Even back in Afghanistan, the extraction target from Angel with Broken Wings said his village became victim to a disease before it was burnt down. If these are all connected, then there's something really weird going on here. If those bodies are an indicator of what this sickness does to you think the village was burned because of it? Hopefully this information will be relayed to Snake. Either way, we can consider this another successful mission for Silent Mastodon.
On behalf of all the Diamond Dogs, thank you.
No, Master Miller. Thank you for making such a good pick for the mission. Big Boss will be relieved that his men were saved without any issues by such a hero.
But for now, I bid you farewell.
Huh? Oh, he did it? Good, good. Alright, now that I'm caught up on the plot, although I don't know why the videos took that long to explain all that, we can get on to our next mission. We've been contracted to eliminate a commander of one of the PFs. Once again, we have our own reasons for taking this job. This commander is planning on starting a side gig involving nuclear weapons trading, which seems really weird to me because, I feel like that's a bit of a difficult market to just dip your toes in. Any government, corrupt or not, would not let that slide. But if he is telling the truth, he might have something to do with that yellow cake shipment. Problem is, we have no way of knowing where he is. Luckily, he has a subordinate that's set to be meeting with him. Although it'll be heavily guarded, but, when is it not? It shouldn't be an issue for us. First, we spot the subordinate and see that he's taking 3 of his own goons to this meeting. We need to tail them. They make a stop at a nearby outpost, although this time it's not to chat with another soldier. No, they're switching vehicles to shake anyone that might be following. Joke's on them. They take a really long time getting there, like a whole minute and a half. It's the same thing that happened in Lingua Franca. The guards just move way too slowly sometimes. Don't want to be late for the meeting, do you? By the time they got in the second car, I was eager to move and accidentally got spotted. So I had to sit through that whole thing again. Again though, that was my fault. Good thing that the spot of the meeting is really close to here. Now we have the commander in our line of fire. But you know the drill, let's listen in on what they're gonna say. It's more about this mystery disease. Way more people are dying from it than I thought. Whole merc groups are being taken out by it. But aside from that, the nuclear weapons trading is brought up. He doesn't seem to know much about it, but he does know that one of the other PFs is targeting some old man involved with it. A new player enters the ring. But now it's time for the old extraction. There are way too many guards gathered together in one spot for me to be able to do this cleanly. Is what I would say if I didn't have plans for a situation like this. Remember when I said the stun arm was worth upgrading? Check out my greatest technique. Perhaps it's a bit overkill. It takes a long time to charge, but the reward for doing so is practically a gift from the Rain Transformed. Honestly, I'd say the stun arm is the best bionic arm just for that. I have a rocket arm too that acts as a remote control flying fist, and that's cool and all, but come on, right? The results speak for themselves. I'd say doing that makes up for the lame-ass side objectives. The only real one of note that I haven't done naturally is that there's a prisoner in one of the bases. But like, whatever. I guess that explains why they took so long to change vehicles, but that doesn't mean I like it. As was implied by the meeting, the commander says the nuclear weapons trading was nothing but a smokescreen. He just doesn't know what it's a smokescreen for or who gave him the orders. But we can make an educated guess on who it was. And again, he brings up that an old man is on their list. Questions keep piling up, but there's nothing much we could do about it right now. Well, while we wait to get any more jobs, let's do some side ops. I will say, I think Central Africa is a much better place to explore than Afghanistan. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Afghanistan, but when repeatedly going through side ops, it becomes very annoying to traverse. Firstly, although sandstorms can be advantageous to us occasionally, for the most part it's just an annoyance when moving around the map. In Africa, the only weather besides clear sky is rain. It dampens your footsteps and cleans any blood you might have on you. The only downside I know of is that guards will wake up a bit faster when they have rain being pelted on their face. But aside from that, it's simply another one of God's gifts to us. Secondly, Afghanistan's map is mountainous, meaning there are generally more linear paths. So let's say you have a waypoint for this direction. You hop in your car or your buddy of choice and go that way. But then it crosses your mind to bring up the iDroid and whoops, you've been driving on a path that doesn't lead to your destination at all. Time to turn around, go all the way back, and on the right path. On top of that, a lot of bases don't have a way around them. So again, if you're just trying to get to a waypoint, you're gonna have to sneak through at least one base that has nothing to do with anything. Doing this over and over and over again gets pretty grating over time. The box fast travel system does alleviate this somewhat, but as I said, it only works if the base is in business as usual mode. And if you get caught in one place, they're gonna alert all nearby bases that you might be around. So when you get to a fast travel point, the base it's in will already be on caution mode for the next few in-game hours. So now you have to clear the whole place out so you could fast travel, or go far away enough and use the Phantom Cigar to pass the time until they go back to normal. And even then you have to not get seen at all going to the fast travel point. It's a whole thing just because I want to go and extract a highly skilled Soldier 7. Moving over to Central Africa, the place is way more open. Instead of mountains, the map is filled with open fields, so you can move straight to nearly any point with ease, and almost every base can be moved around. Doing side ops here is so much less of a burden over time. Well, that is, if side ops weren't already becoming one. Yeah, I think it's time we talked about that. The side ops were an absolute rush job. At first, it's fine. Extracting highly skilled soldiers, prisoners, disposing of mines, it's all harmless fun. And of course, there's more than that. There are 7 main types of side ops. Technically 8, but one is extracting an armored vehicle unit and the other is extracting a tank unit. They aren't really different enough to be considered unique from each other. Although, I guess if I wanted to add that simplification, I might as well say that there are 3 types of side ops, because it really comes down to just 3 objectives. There's nothing all too interesting to shake things up between them. All that really changes is the geography, and maybe there's one obstacle in the way. Highly skilled soldiers are always in the same exact place on replays, so it just becomes a pattern of going to that place, knocking them out, and extracting them. And most of these have them right in the center of the base they're in. So because I'm not giving it 100% like I am with the main ops, I usually get caught and maybe die. Fun. Prisoners are basically the same thing, you just don't have to do the knocking out part. And the same issue persists with their usual locations. Heavy infantry can't be damaged with normal bullets. Okay, big deal. As we've established, explosions blast off their armor without killing them, so tranks and CQC work just fine. Although, I will say that having to go through that song and dance to extract each heavy soldier is starting to get really annoying. Especially when some of them aren't even a very high rank and end up leaving Diamond Dogs anyway. It would probably be better if I could just... Never mind. The armored vehicle and tank unit side ops are probably the most challenging and enjoyable out of them, but that's not exactly saying a lot. Basically, there are 1 or 2 vehicles, 1 or 2 groups of 4 patrolling the area, and 1 or 2 snipers positioned. Occasionally, you might even get a helicopter thrown in the mix. If that sounds like it's enjoyable to take on, you'd be right at first. But again, doing it over and over really wears down the psyche. Side ops are unlocked when you finish main ops, not when you finish other side ops. So let's say you're developing a weapon, or you have a deployment mission going and you're waiting for it to be done. Naturally, you're gonna want to do something in the meantime. But sucks for you, you already did all the side ops available. I guess you could do them again. Or how about if you're strapped for GMP? Side ops are basically the fastest way to earn more, at least at the moment. So you're gonna be doing them so many fucking times that you'll know each of them like the back of your hand. And you're also gonna hate your hand. If I were to offer one of my trademarked AskYourUncle solutions, it would be to simply add more detail to each side op. That doesn't even have to mean gameplay variation, more so just extra context. For example, let's say you walk into a base where a highly skilled soldier is. When you enter the mission area, maybe you could have Kaz say something like,
Your target is a real sick bastard. He reads Garfield comics and actually laughs at them. No sane man does that, boss. Take him out before he tortures someone.
And just like that, it feels a lot more unique from the others. Of course, that would mean having to have a separate story for each side op, so that would cost poor Robin hours of voice recording time. But I'd say that'd be worth it. If I were to push my luck when it comes to making requests, I would also like some gameplay variation. So maybe you could add a little note at the end of each call like,
He always designates 3 p.m. as lasagna time. During this time, he reads more comic strips while eating sand that he says is the precious pasta. He's vulnerable at that moment.
and then make that actually the case. My point is to put a little gimmick onto the side ops. At the very least, make them tougher. Make prisoners heavily guarded, make heavy infantry immune to CQC damage, make highly skilled soldiers actually highly skilled. Most of the time, they're a lower rank than all the other guys around them, and they're always just as easy to take out. Make their senses better, make them faster, give them better weapons. Maybe they take 2 CQCs to knock out and love to use grenades. I'm not saying you should do exactly these things, but something would have been nice. As it is now, it's the worst part of the game, and that's a real bummer. It could have been one of the best had more time been put into it. Really makes you wonder, was this the plan originally? Did KJP intend for the side ops to have such a little variety? Or was a certain looming sense of dread and urgency to blame? Maybe if the game had more time in the oven, or even if the team had fewer restrictions, we would have gotten a much better selection of side content. I'm not saying that Konami was for sure the reason that side ops suck, I'm just theorizing. It's hard not to do that when talking about this game. Well, while we're on the subject, we still have another variety that we haven't gone over. More MSF soldiers have popped up around Central Africa. Again, either there are literally thousands of these guys all wandering aimlessly around the globe, or this is all one massive coincidence. This time I went for a different strategy. The box won the last guy over, but how about if I play some love deterrents on speaker? Once again, that seems to have done the trick. But, I don't know, I'm still kinda salty over those first 2 guys wrecking my shit, so honestly, I'm probably gonna stick to the violence route from now on. There's another unique one that I have here, and that's apparently another Intel agent extraction. We really have to train these guys better. Well, at least I'm available this time, so I don't have to burden Silent Mastodon again. It's all the way back in Dawan Dehar. The last person I needed to rescue here was Kaz. Wonder which Intel agent it is that I'm saving.
He was on the staff at Mother Base 9 years back. Get our men out of there, boss. To say he's a critical VIP would be a massive understatement.
It's Kojima, isn't it? Yeah, I thought so. Next! Paz still isn't budging when it comes to remembering her true self. I keep handing her the pictures the MSF soldiers are giving me along with their lunch money, but she just can't leave this character she's created. She's so entrenched in this lie that she can't see the truth right in front of her. Although, some time in the field let me think for a bit. If Paz could survive all that exploding and crashing into the ocean, why couldn't Chico? He was a tough kid. He went through torture on multiple occasions and survived both times. The horrors of war lifted its skirt and showed him every gruesome detail, and yet he prevailed. For him to just die like that, it's not fair. I'm sure we all think that, and I'm sure Kojima thought that too, because he was originally supposed to return. There's some concept art you can find from the game of what was supposed to be Chico as an adult. There are quite a few interesting details to point out. At the top right, you can see what he was supposed to look like without the hood. The hair is similar, if a bit more ruffled, and the terrible scarring would make sense. We all lost something in that crash. Snake lost an arm, Kaz lost an arm and a leg, Paz lost her memory, I suppose he would have lost his face. Next, the coat itself. Its bright red coloring is reminiscent of Paz's raincoat from the beginning of Peace Walker. And if that isn't a giveaway, then the giant peace sign should be. Perhaps he was mourning the loss of the girl he truly cared for. Either he wouldn't have known she was truly alive, or maybe she was truly dead in this earlier version of the game. Although that seems unlikely based on an unused voice clip where it seems Snake talks to Paz about him.
Chico wanted to see you too.
Based on the wide variety of blades at his disposal, it can be assumed that he was going to be the ninja of the game, but a much more rough and grotesque version of one. Likely not cybernetic either. Quiet seems to have been able to survive and gain superpowers after what should have been a life-ending incident. Maybe whatever treatment she got would go to him as well. It seems pretty likely that he would have been a buddy based on even more unused voice lines from Snake where he yells his name as if to call him over.
Chico! Chico!
Side note, but there are actually a ton of unused Snake voice clips in the game, and it's a shame that they're never used because some of them are pretty funny.
Ah! Are you blind?
No, it's just bright is all.
Are you blind? Consecutive! C! Q!
That's the boss I know. You're pretty good.
C!
Give it a rest.
Q! Not yet! It's not over yet!
Now, as for his potential relevance to the story, there was a leaked script that came out in 2019. It said that he survived and ended up where else but Central Africa, and then Amanda herself calls you up to request that you put him out of his misery. Again, based on those voice lines, we can assume we took him back in instead. We can wonder what could have been all day, but nothing changes the fact that in the final version of the game, he's dead. And as I said before, it's just not fair. He didn't deserve that, and his absence makes me hurt. It's like there's a phantom pang in the back of my head and it fuck my head again. Well, I guess we'll leave pasta her business and head back to ours. Actually, while we're still on the medical platform, there's a certain prisoner we need to visit. I'm honestly surprised Quiet hasn't put up a fuss since getting here. Ocelot even loosened her cell door to see if she would try anything, but she never did. It would have been extremely easy for her too, what with her abilities. In fact, I'd venture to guess that if she wanted to kill us while we were lounging around Mother Base, we'd be dead by now. Could be that she was genuinely holding back during our battle. She's determined to prove her trustworthiness to us. I just don't know why. Speaking of her abilities, the folks at the medical platform have been studying them, as well as her behavior. As her name implies, she never speaks. She refuses to even write things down to communicate. I assume there's a reason for that, but, you know, she can't tell us. Something else worth noting here is that she hasn't needed to eat or drink since she landed. She turns away anything given to her. And it appears that it's because despite all logic, her body is photosynthetic. Whenever she takes in water from the cell shower, her body begins almost digesting it visibly. And the sun also feeds her. That would explain why she's refusing to put on any clothes. Okay, I should probably stop ignoring the elephant in the room. I'm using a mod for Quiet currently. The outfit she's wearing here is not the one she does in the base game. I'll make this quick, as most of you already know. In the base game, Quiet shows a lot more skin. This gained a lot of controversy back when the game released due to it feeling like needless sexualization. Of course, the reason given is that she's photosynthetic, so she needs to not wear clothes to breathe. But the End was also photosynthetic, and he always wore a ghillie suit. It's kinda silly that she's dressed this way. You've likely heard this all before. My opinion on it is that I honestly don't really care. It's not my game, and Stephanie Justin, the actress who played Quiet, doesn't give a fuck, so why should I? But then why did I go all Reddit and censor her with a mod, you might ask? Well, first of all, how dare you? Second, the reason is rather simple. YouTube. This is a long series of videos, and this is definitely not the last we'll see of her. The guidelines may allow this for now, but mark my words, they won't in a few years. This website is one of the most unstable ecosystems on the planet. Do not put it past them to age restrict something like this. I put a lot of time into this, and I don't want to be slapped with limited ads over something so minor. So that's why I'm using this mod. It's pretty good. Link in the description if you want it. I'll be comfortable using vanilla footage with her in it if she's not the focus of the shot. Trust me, if I didn't have to worry about this whole thing, I wouldn't have bothered with censorship. It's not like I want to be that guy, I just kinda have to. I mean no disrespect. Back to what we were talking about, it's time we took her out into the field. Wait, what? Yeah, it seems she's been eager to join us this whole time. She even tried to once, but Cons was able to put a stop to it. But now, Ocelot's giving us the opportunity to give her a chance. Well, she did try to kill me, and her basically letting herself be captive here is pretty suspicious. But on the other hand, she did save me, and more importantly, Pequod from that fighter jet. And her skills would be useful in tandem with mine. And if I keep her confined here, morale might start taking a hit. It seems everyone on Mother Base really hates her, and if they get too riled up, they might... Well, I was about to say hurt her, but... Well, someone might get hurt. Alright, for the good of Diamond Dogs, I'll test her skills in the field. Oof, 2 points down for Kaz this time. He must be listening in from somewhere. But at least we have another point for Ocelot. And thus, we've earned our fourth and final buddy. Quiet the Sniper. The only human buddy, too. And much like D-Walker, she's a bit more complicated than our four-legged friends. As you would probably expect, she mainly acts as a spotter and scouter. When out in the field, you can order her to move to any base of your choosing. She'll go there ahead of you with her super speed and circle the place a few times to scout for enemies. enemies. By the time you get there, she should have a bunch of them pre-marked for you. As great as D-Dog's marking ability is, it does have a flaw. When you mark someone, they stay that way forever. But for the dear boy, it's only a semi-mark, meaning if you move too far away, they fade back into obscurity. When Quiet is in scouting mode, however, she fully marks them. To that extent, she's really designed to be used for long periods of time in the field. As much as I shat on side ops, she does make them marginally more strategic and enjoyable. It's very convenient being able to walk into basically every base that a side op is in and just have everyone already marked. The only people she can't are those she wouldn't be able to see. So Dee Dee still has sensing people and buildings over her. Dee Dee can also spot plants, animals, and mines, while Quiet is restricted to only seeing enemies. As a plus, when she's en route to where you tell her to go, she sometimes drops ammo and suppressors for you in case you were low. That is a very appreciated bonus. Thank you, Quiet. But surely that's not all she can do, right? But of course, she is a sniper, not just a spotter. Although, when you just unlock her as a buddy, she's really not that useful as one. Her first weapon is an unsilenced lethal rifle. Even if you weren't doing a killless run, that's really not that good. And the only command you can give her is fire. All she's good for right now is shooting helmets off of soldiers for me to take them out non-lethally from there. In fact, occasionally when she takes someone's helmet off, reflex mode activates so you can take them down easier. That's pretty cool, but it happens kinda rarely. And even then, everyone else hears it and starts attacking her. Much like with normal people, she can't take too much damage, or else she'll have to withdraw from the battlefield. And what makes it worse is that she lets out a terrible scream when she gets shot. Ugh, I feel that. Also, when she's aiming at anyone, she starts humming like she did in the boss fight. It never stops. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. She has a bond level much like the other live buddies, and so she has unlockable abilities as well as unlockable equipment. First, she'll get a trank sniper, which is better for me, but it's still unsilenced, so still not that great. But then she gets the ability to cover fire, meaning she shoots anyone she sees as quickly as she can, which again is better for me, but she would still be in trouble with her current weapons. Which is why you should get her to nearly full bond so she can finally get a silenced trank rifle. And once you have her at that point, you can definitely make an argument that she's the best buddy. Because now, not only can she scout ahead for you, but she can also get started on clearing them out, and she'll last way longer due to having a silencer. She can be used as a very good distraction while infiltrating. If you have her shoot a guard where others will see it, they'll of course start freaking out, and from there you can have her move to different attack points for every few shots, so they'll basically never find her. It requires pulling out the iDroid a bunch, but it's worth seeing them scrambling around like idiots trying to find a ghost. So yeah, kinda lame at first, very good with time. I wouldn't recommend letting her bond go up naturally over the course of the game, because then you're just going to be stuck with her limited arsenal and abilities. But isn't raising her bond a time-consuming process anyway, what with her being a human and therefore more complicated to make happy than a dog or a horse? Well, yes. How did you know about that? I didn't... Anyway, there's a little cycle of actions you could do to make it go up really fast. And it goes a little something like this. Deploy to either map and begrudgingly do a round of side ops. Have Quiet scout as much as she possibly can for everywhere you're going. When you encounter any guard with helmets, have her pop them off. If you see any supply drops she's left for you, pick them up, even if you don't need it. Once you're done, head back to the helicopter and then just stare at her. For a good 10 Mississippi seconds. Studies have shown that this will raise your bond with anyone. Try it on the next good-looking stranger you see on the train and report back when you've gotten hitched. Now go back to Mother Base, specifically to the medical platform. She'll go back to her cell as to not upset Kaz. So just go there and hang out for a minute or two. She likes the company. Call the helicopter again, stare into her soul for a little while longer, and go back to doing side ops. Rinse and repeat until you've gotten all the upgrades you so desire. For me, it required 80% for that silenced trank gun. That took me about an hour or two of doing that cycle. I'd say it was worth it. As I said, there's an argument to be made as to whether or not she's the best buddy. Although I'd say she has weaknesses where D-Dog doesn't and vice versa. I'd say they're equally placed at top tier. And then there's God tier with D-Walker, but we'll get to that. Anyway, now that I have all that bond grinding out of the way, it's time to head out and continue on. But first, now that we've cleared another chunk of missions, it's time to give them their grades. Pitch Dark was a very solid introduction to Central Africa. It hooks you with the immediate problems that are visible and reels you in with the tone escalation. The normal play ain't half bad either. It's only really weighed down by its replayability and side objectives being very average. A tier. As I said, Lingua Franca is a really good, awful mission, but I have to try and be objective here. The feel is great. I still love getting pieces of information you wouldn't get otherwise through listening in on conversations and interrogations. The replayability is also fairly high due to that intel file. However, the sheer glitchiness of the side objectives are way way too hard to ignore. I think B fits if I'm being generous. And I only am because next mission is my least favorite so far. Footprints of Phantoms is a whole lot of nothing. Every aspect of this mission reeks of E tier, so I'll be giving it what it deserves, which is that. But again, it's impressive that it took us this long to get to a non-tutorial E. Traitors Caravan is great. The side objectives are nothing special, but it's made up for by everything else. Catering to my borderline creepy love of eavesdropping, as well as buffing the skulls to be a genuine challenge, really does it for me. S tier. I didn't experience Rescue the Intel agents myself, so I sent a message to Silent Mastodon and asked how he felt. Here's what he wrote to me. It wasn't the best mission, to be sure. Its premise isn't really taken advantage of and just feels like a prisoner rescue side-op with extra bells and whistles added. Adding on that the side objectives are extremely lackluster and we have a mission that you don't ever need to go back to. As a side note, why doesn't this mission follow the naming gimmick that the rest do? All the other titles are vague allusions to what the mission is about, but this one is just stating the objective. I suppose that fits with its quality. I would give it a D tier. Thank you, Silent Mastodon. Your choice in vernacular never ceases to captivate. And lastly, On the Trail is kinda lame. It would be very short if it weren't for the part where they take 3 hours to change vehicles. The side objectives aren't worth noting, and the only part I even remember is when I called upon the power of Zeus for a second. But that wasn't a mission thing, that was a me thing. D. You'll notice that this batch of missions was a lot more of a mixed bag than the first 12. While I do think the quality has dropped a bit, it's really not enough to say that it's going downhill. And there's still plenty of time to course correct. Let's see if they could do that now. So our next contract is a bit tricky. A group of rebels have been taken prisoner by a PF. Out of fear that they'll give out sensitive information, their general has contracted us to eliminate the 5 as well as their platoon leader who seems to have gone turncoat. Now's the part where I would say that I'm gonna extract them instead, but here's the twist. The general says that he knows our reputation for fault and recovery and is personally gonna make sure that we kill the lot of them. I'm not sure how I can get around it this time. They want bodies and we need to provide. Can I make it look like... No, that's dumb. Fine. Just this once, I'll break my rule, and what the fuck is that trumpet? Again, it goes away when I'm not hovering over this mission. I don't understand what's causing this glitch, it's happening on both versions too. The last time I played this loudly was before Occupation Forces, and that was the first mission that I... That couldn't be it, right? No, it has to be a glitch. Whatever, let's just go. The first location I'm heading to is Bampeve Plantation, which is where the platoon leader is. The next place is Kongenga Mine, where the other 5 are being held prisoner. I'll have Quiet go to the mine and mark everyone there ahead of time while I take care of the plantation. This is what I mean when I say she can be used strategically. Luckily, the plantation has this hill at its side that lets me bypass most of the base. And the platoon leader is standing out in the open like a goddamn idiot. There's a price on your head, man, come on. There has to be a way that I can do this without killing him. I really don't want to. Wait, is that an armored vehicle? What the hell are one of those doing here? They can't know that I'm coming, right? The base seems far too lax for that. Well, eventually it leaves, but if it comes back, I could be in trouble. Alright, fuck it, no more stalling. See ya, platoon leader.
Target confirmed dead. 5 targets remaining.
Huh. The last times I did that, they were either in a vehicle or off-screen. I haven't had to look at them as I did it until now. Alright, to Kongenga Mine. Because I have Quiet with me, I'm restricted to using a car instead of having D-Horse or D-Walker. I know I'd be totally OP if I could use 2 buddies at once, but man, do I wish I could use 2 buddies at once. As I said, the car is just not the same. If you go into reflex mode with the other 2 buddies, you have a chance to retaliate before they go on alert. But in a car, all you can do is look at them while presumably saying, wow, clumsy old me, right? And again, it just does not handle going off-road well. If D-Walker hits something it can't drive through, you're able to quickly readjust their wheel mode or walk over it. But here, it's a whole thing. You have to reverse and then try again, and then it still doesn't work, and ugh, don't like it. Alright, made it to the mine. It's one of the more unique structured bases due to what it is. It's also got a nice alternate entrance for me to exploit. There's almost no resistance if you go in this way. That is, up until the cave entrance. This part of the base always gives me shit because there are at least 3 guys gathered around. I'm usually left picking the lock in a blind hurry. But once you're in, you're in. Okay, 5 prisoners. Just gotta put them down and leave. It's nothing I haven't done before. I mean, I'm Big Boss. The legendary mercenary has to get his hands dirty every once in a while, you know what I mean? It's a war, after all. Alright guys, hope you packed your bags, cause you're taking a trip to Oh, that changes things. but not enough. A paycheck's a paycheck. Sorry kids, them's the breaks.
Amazing. Mission complete. That right there is why you're the best.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Had to put a spin on the meme somehow. I told you, I'm not a monster, guys. That general can go fuck himself at this point. Let's get you guys out of here. One of them has a broken leg, so I'm gonna have to carry him. There's a path out the back of the mine that leads to a field. Pequod will meet us there. Problem is, that path is sorta long and has plenty of guards. And because of my own situation with the kid on my back, I'm not in the best position to pick them off. So stealth is very important here. I kinda like the helpless feeling you get in this part. But if you did as I did and raised Quiet's bond before doing this mission, she makes herself especially useful here. Having her placed in specific attack positions with cover fire on makes this much less stressful. Now the guards that she doesn't take out will be focused on finding her anyway. Alright gang, let's get moving. We're not too far from the RV. Okay, there's some cooties down there. Let's try and move around that. Okay, keep going. Oh, wait! Okay, let's go. The guards have discovered that the kids escaped, so now they're gonna be coming in from behind us too. Quiet and I are really gonna have to work double time. Now there's a damn gunship too? This is the worst. At least Ocelot's chimed in with his expert advice as usual. Alright, final stretch. Really doing this by the skin of my teeth. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, can we all agree that that was justified? If I didn't do that, the kids would have gotten hurt. Again, self-driving car here. The only difference is that I don't burst into flames. Okay, fair point. Whew, alright, that was eventful. When it comes to side objectives, this mission is very weird. There's one where you have to get the kids to the helicopter before anyone discovers they're gone, which I'm pretty sure is impossible unless you take out everyone in the base beforehand. No one can see they escaped if no one's awake. And then there are 5 snipers to extract positioned in really remote parts of the map. They aren't even near either of the bases I was supposed to go. What the hell are they guarding over here? And lastly, the armored vehicles. There were 3 that were moving around the mission area, and it is so damn difficult to find all 3 without a guide. I tried, I promise, but I just couldn't do it and pulled up a walkthrough. We all do it from time to time, don't act all high and mighty on me. Looks like everything turned out alright. I got everyone back to Mother Base safe and sound. And the kid with the messed up leg can get properly treated. This is the first time in a while where I feel like we've done something good for the world. Okay, Kaz, you saw him coming. You walked into him on purpose. Whoa, what? What the fuck was that about, Miller? What? Why did I lose points for that? Well, that situation's dealt with. Time to reconvene at the chopper. Oh, actually, those capture cages I set back there, how did they do?
Is that a Tsuchinoko?
Perfect. Now let's go to the emblem menu, add the Tsuchinoko, change the shape behind it. Now let's add the word fat and snake. Fat snake, baby! Fat snake!
Baby, that is
what
fat
we
snake.
got ourselves a fat snake.
I can't believe it.
Tsuchinoko is legendary.
Fat snake.
While I was busy with the rebranding, one of the kids spoke to Ocelot. It turns out there's one more member of their little gang that got left behind. His name is Shibani, and he was their leader. When the group was kidnapped, Shibani was separated from the rest and taken to a place called Nzoya Badiabulu, which translates to the Devil's House. The locals say that those who walk into the jungle where it resides never returns. That sounds pretty similar to that tale the PF spun earlier about their soldiers going missing. Either way, this does not sound promising. In actuality, this Devil's House is an industrial zone that was abandoned for a long time. That is, until the land was bought out by Saner. That's right, the oil company that also sold walker gears. And I have a strong feeling that whatever's inside that place is another very separate venture. AKA, this is XOF's doing for sure. Either way, the kids have offered all the diamonds they got from the mine in exchange for rescuing him. Taking contracts from children. When did we get so inclusive? Well, Shibani could also give us intel on XOF based on what he saw in that place. I guess we'll call it a win-win. Although, I can't help but get the feeling that we might be in a rough situation with something like a gunship or an armored vehicle. I mean, we did have to deal with both last time. Well, better safe than sorry. We'll take a rocket launcher. Let's go. We're entering uncharted territory with this mission. I haven't been down this way yet, and that makes for a rough start because the base you have to move past is extremely narrow. It's really hard to get through unnoticed. As icing on the cake, there are even more piles of bodies in this base. This place is fucked up, man. But when you manage to make it through, you'll see a truck. This gives me an idea. You guys remember Ground Zeroes? Me neither, time to hop in the back. As we're about to take off, we overhear a conversation that two guards have about a familiar sounding old man. Apparently, he's a nuclear weapons genius and is going to be able to mass produce nukes to give to everyone. Interesting. God, I love doing this. Kojima really hit the nail on the head when he decided to make the box a usable item in the series. Something primal in me feels satisfied being cargo on a truck waiting to be taken to my destination. Maybe I'm a box of ammo, or maybe I'm a new computer as a Christmas gift. Or maybe I'm a legendary soldier who's gonna knock you out when you try to open me. You wanna flip that coin, unwitting PF? Come on, open me, I dare you. Oh my god, is this a fetish? Seems that the truck can't make it all the way to the Devil's house, so the driver has to exit the vehicle and go the rest of the way on foot. Although he's told to be wary of the mist in the jungle. I assume that means to be wary of the skulls? Probably a good call to bring the rocket launcher. That's my cue to follow. Yeah, it's misty over here, alright. I'd say that's to be expected from an area like this, but you know what, let's keep following this guy. Maybe he'll be given more details on what's going on here. Once again, I must thank Quiet for marking everyone ahead of time. I can't see ahead very well, but thanks to her, I know to stick to the right. That's definitely the best way to go if you want to get jump scared by a wild dog.
Planning on jumping off the waterfall, boss?
Planning to keep your mouth shut, penis boy? As it turns out, he's not supposed to be going into the Devil's house. He's just keeping the entrance tunnel guarded. He doesn't even know it's there. In fact, the last guy that got curious and took a peek got killed by some XOF-looking goons. Well, now I'm really concerned. I don't want to just walk in there without knowing what hell lies within. I don't know, maybe there's an intel file in this tent.
Lured her out by telling her it was just a game. The girl was found shot once in the chest from point-blank range.
That sounds familiar. Alright, caution to the wind. Let's see what's on the other side.
You've reached the objective area. Now look for the target. I just hope he's alive.
Okay, so far so calm. Nothing's screaming danger at me, but yet I feel weirdly uneasy. Well, I'll just have Quiet positioned outside and she'll let me know if someone's coming, somehow. Looks like a regular industrial zone so far, not much worth noting. What's this? Shibani is supposed to be in there? Alright. What in the fucking Devil's house is this? There's so much blood. And I guess these are supposed to be guts? Body bags everywhere too. What were they doing to people in here? There's some radios as well, playing 2 different languages, neither of which the PFs are using. That's strange, but I guess it's not the worst thing here. Is there a live one? He has an earbud put into his throat. Call me crazy, but based on the name, that's not where you're supposed to put that. It's those blue things. At least now we have a closer look at one. Yeah, they don't really look like tumors, more like just inner growths. Man, am I glad I have a robotic arm sometimes. Ugh. I think it's far too late for this guy. We should just move on.
What is that?
Oh my god. I don't have a funny joke for this. This is messed up. They all have earbuds in them, playing a bunch of different languages. Why? That's so bizarre. What causes this illness? Oh, I think that's Shibani. He's alive, thankfully. But he seems to be developing a growth of his own. Well, as long as it isn't full-sized, maybe he can be saved. The folks at the medical platform can work wonders. One time I had a cold, so Healing Wasp whipped out a taser and was able to... Spectacular timing, Skullface.
You.
Me.
Burn with the rest of them.
Oh shit.
Get the fuck out of there!
Oh, you said the F word. That's new. Alright, change of plans. We're gonna shake this guy, turn back, and then we'll grab Shibani. Ah, that sucks. Okay, well, at least I can still escape. Can you stop? Okay, man on fire. If I recall, there was a way to stop him before, back at the hospital, but I'm kinda having a hard time remembering due to the panic I'm experiencing. Also, every time I think about the hospital, my head starts to hurt. Huh. I guess we're gonna be figuring it out again. I'm putting all the lead I can into him, but it's not even phasing him. Even shotgun blasts are only pushing him back a little. Alright, well I have a hunk of metal on my back for a reason. Here we go.
He absorbed, he exploded. Damn, he's about to counterattack.
Holy shit. I can't even run away from him. Thanks to the psychic, he can teleport. I'm really trying to think of a way to stop him, but I can't. Oh, I forgot you were here. Okay, maybe let's not do that again. Oh, a car. Perfect. Nothing can withstand my greatest combo. How are you still standing? Okay, now I'm really stumped. How the hell do I beat the man on fire? Okay, it's water. It's water. Yeah, I guess I should have figured. Gotcha. Well, while we're still here, let's beat the psychic too. Wait, what the? Why can't I hit you? I can do it when you were with Sahelanthropus, why not now? Oh, curse my hubris, why didn't I just leave? Well, it doesn't matter. I know how to beat him now, so this shouldn't be too bad. Didn't think that would work. Man, it is a good thing I keep a water pistol on me at all times. Well, let's bring him back home and see what this guy's made of.
Wait, you want to extract him? Good idea. I want to know what he really is. Get on with it, boss. He broke the cords. I'd call that good news.
Ah, damn. We already prepared a cell, too. Alright, let's just get the hell out of here. Now, I really like this mission. Not only is the feel extremely good, but the man on fire was really fun to figure out. There are a bunch of ways to beat him that I didn't even show, but I'll leave them to you to find. The only downside to his appearance is that once again, it's spoiled in the credits. Still pissed about that. As for the Devil's House, I thought it was executed pretty well. Back in Ground Zeroes, I called the Chico tapes really tone deaf, because they were. So with the imagery here being just as dark, if not darker than that audio, you'd think I'd hate this too. But as opposed to that, this was foreshadowed for a while before. We've now spent a lot of time in this darker version of the Metal Gear world, so seeing things like this up close wasn't out of the question, at least in my mind. The tapes came in the prologue chapter of MGS5 and were not hinted at for more than maybe 1.5 scenes. And again, it only came right after the game where you talk to the funny Monster Hunter cat and fight funny monsters from Monster Hunter. The tapes did a bad job of being the tone setter, while this did a good job at being the result of the tone already established. Overall, this is a really good mission. Easy S tier. So Kaz is left with just as many questions as me. It seems that the man on fire is on Skullface's payroll, but why? And why did it seem like the psychic was controlling him too? And then there are the people in the Devil's House. What the hell was the deal with that?
And those lumps on their chests.
Those are called breasts, Kaz. Oh, you mean the blue things? Yeah, I don't know either. This is really hard to wrap my head around. But not as hard as breaking the news about Shabani is gonna be. Hey, kids. So, Shabani didn't want to come home. Instead, he just gave me his necklace for you to keep as a farewell gift. Yeah, turns out Nzoyaba Diabulu is just one big party house. They had soda and an Atari. He was playing like Superman and Indiana Jones and other games I'm trying to remember AVGN playing. Your friend's dead. Yeah, he's dead. I'm sorry for your loss. Alright, the grind never stops. Let's keep it moving. We've got another job for the taking. You see, there's this guy. He's a PF official and he's in charge of weapons deployment, meaning who gets what weapons. He's set to meet with a Western arms dealer in Nova Braga Airport. He's coming there to inspect the place. Our job is to eliminate the official before the inspection ends. Once it does, he's supposed to leave with the arms dealer by helicopter, so we're on a time limit. Let us commence. We've been to the airport before, back in Traitors' Caravan, but we didn't see much of it then, so now it's time to explore it. The arms dealer hasn't arrived yet, so we have time to find the PF official. Oh goody, walker gears. I guess this inspection is a big deal. There's a main building that we haven't been in yet, so let's see if he's in there. The place is pretty cramped, so if he is, then listening in on this inspection might be a pain in the ass. By the way, I said that out loud on purpose, because I knew that if I did, he'd totally be in here. Law of inevitability and whatnot. I was saving us both some time, you're welcome. Well, we could grab him now, but I want to see what this inspection entails. So all that's left to do is to wait for this arms dealer to show. I don't know how long that's gonna take. Oh, I forgot to put my phone on silent. That's very unprofessional of me, I'm sorry. Let me just take this real quick, okay? Hello? What do you mean Mother Base was attacked again? A rival PF? How did we let that happen? Well, I'm kind of busy right now. Can Silent Mastodon take this one? What do you mean you can't find him?
After giving chase for like 10 minutes, they decide they've had enough for the day and go to bed. In the middle of the night, Sora goes out to take a tinkle.
God damn it, I guess I have no choice. Let's hope I can settle this fast enough for the arms dealer to be on time for the inspection. Fucking cuz. So, it seems that the commander of a different PF took over part of Mother Base. It's not even one of the ones from Africa here to take revenge, it's a completely unrelated one. Luckily, they're not pulling an XOF and massacring us. No, they've only taken a bunch of Diamond Dogs hostage and are holding them ransom for our supplies. But I'm not just gonna let them walk all over us. I worked hard for those material crates.
Boss, that container contains biological material. I don't have my useless info compendium on me, so I'm gonna assume that means semen. Bring it back to base. I'm sure that at some point it'll be of use.
I'm gonna find their commander and make him stand down. From there, the rest should crumble. P-Quad dropped me off at the side of the platform and drew a lot of their fire in the process. Okay, I really need to be careful about this one. If they find me, not only would I be in trouble, but they might kill some of the hostages. And I just wouldn't be able to stomach that. I should avoid knocking too many of them out because of that too. The less they suspect I'm here, the better. That won't be easy though, there are a dick ton of them. They did not go easy on us in terms of numbers. Extremely heavy use of the box is recommended for this mission. Some of the hostages are laying around, so extracting them is of high priority. I'd be saving them anyway if I just dealt with the situation, but the smaller chance of them being killed is a weight off my shoulders. Alright, I've reached the central platform. One of these assholes had a change of allegiance and told me where the commander is. He's at the top, of course. Getting up there is a bit tricky because this platform is kind of a maze. I really ought to know the layout of this place better. But thankfully, that pipe climbing trick I mentioned earlier comes into play here. Alright, here he is. He did this to us. All I have to do is knock him out, and then the rest will surrender. And then we'll send them back home. Okay, hear me out. They attacked us. They invaded our home and threatened to kill our fellow Diamond Dogs. And this is just a random PF. There are hundreds out there also desperate for materials in GMP. If our response to this was just giving their commander a little bruise and sending them on their way, that would be a bad precedent to set, right? Hey there, rival PFs, if you come and attack us, we won't be afraid to give you a slap on the wrist doesn't sound like a good deterrent to me. If they have basically nothing to lose, why shouldn't they take a swing at us? If they get something out of it, great. If they don't, there's always next time. No, I don't like that at all. They should be afraid of us. Attacking Diamond Dogs shouldn't even be a consideration for these guys. They need to know not to fuck with us. And the best way to do that is to chop off the head.
Target is no longer a threat. Boss, you just saved Diamond Dogs from a major crisis.
I made the right choice. The rest got to live so they can tell the tale. But I suspect that just this incident won't be enough to deter all PFs away from us. Some have been around since well before we woke up from our coma. They're bound to be strong enough to take us on, so we should prepare for that eventuality. Kaz has set the final platform on Mother Base, the security team, in charge of their namesake. On top of that, we can now develop even more platforms on Mother Base, so we can further expand our army into something truly formidable. With these upgrades under our belt, we should be able to ward off any would-be home intruders. Or we can even do some home intruding ourselves. Yes, here is where the FOB system is introduced. It stands for Forward Operating Base. Basically, all these other PFs out there are actually other players with their own mother bases. If they chose to, they can infiltrate another person's base for the sake of materials, GMP, and other goodies. There's a whole leaderboard for the thing. Very interesting. Okay, I'm sure you could tell by my manner of speech, but it's just not for me. If you were paying close attention to the rules I set in part 1, you may have seen that I wasn't going to talk about FOBs more than I need to. And that's because, quite simply, I don't really play games online. I've tried on multiple occasions. MMOs, online shooters, fucking Toontown, but nothing's ever captured my attention. And this even applies to games that only have partial online integration. I can't tell you why this is, it just is. One of life's great mysteries. So if I were to force myself to do a bunch of FOBs on top of everything else I'm already doing with this game, I'd definitely hate it. And as a result, I wouldn't be able to give you an unbiased or at least untainted opinion. I'd probably just say that it sucks based on the fact that I naturally view it poorly. I can't tell you if it's objectively good or bad. So instead, I'll let you form your own opinion by playing it yourself.
Are you hurt? Try a little harder next time.
What I will say is that the security team's arrival has opened up more equipment development options, and that's always lovely. Mainly, D-Dog now has a stun rod, so you could have him jump on the guy of your choosing and take him out. That's amazing. Oh, and there's also a points system. When you've racked up enough PF points, you can redeem them in this shop. You can get tons of materials and high-ranked staff. In the field, the absolute maximum rank a soldier can be is S. You can only earn S+ and S++ through dispatch missions and volunteers when you have high heroism. Also through FOBs, but you know me. But you could also get them with PF points. They're pretty expensive, nearly 40,000. It would be quite an investment to make. Now you might have noticed that I have 6,800,000. Why do I have that much? I have no idea. I looked up what ways you can earn PF points, but I was greeted with nerd shit, so fuck that. I assumed they were earned through FOBs, but again, you know me, so I guess they can also be earned passively or something? But even still, this is a ridiculous amount. The only conclusion I can come to is that these were built up throughout the 3 playthroughs I made on the PC version, which is what you're looking at currently. I didn't know the PF points were even a thing until recently, so I didn't spend any until recently. And of course, for the video, I've had to play the game for well over 100 hours so far on this version alone, so I guess I just built up a shit ton without knowing. I probably shouldn't use these as it practically seems like cheating, but I deserve to splurge a little. I gave myself a bunch of S++ Intel members so I could develop this new version of the stun SMG that has an actually decent suppressor. That doesn't sound like much, but trust me, it feels like much. But yeah, with all these upgrades I've made and all the excellent new staff I've received, we should be safe. I mean, come on, who the hell would be ballsy enough to attack this bitch?
Damn it! This is our home. How can we let this happen?
How could you let this happen, you mean? Man, you must have been lying through your perfect teeth when you said most PFs idolize us. I'm so bummed now that I don't even want to do any more missions. Oh shit, the airport inspection! Shit, did I take too long? Oh, no, the helicopter's coming in now. Wait a minute, is it night again? Has it been a full day? Well, tardy as it may be, here comes the arms dealer. The initial conversation is nothing special. I'm sure the good stuff will come out once I start following them around. Although I will say that tailing these two is really nerve-wracking at points. As big as this airport is, they basically move through all the most crowded areas with all the walker gears. If even caution mode is triggered, it's all over. And the only checkpoint is before the arms dealer arrives. But luckily there are some breaks to this, because they go in the truck for a good part of it. And as hot and bothered as that makes me, it is also paradoxically somewhat relieving. In one of the hangars, they get to really talking. The PF official asks the arms dealer what they even plan to do with this airport. And the arms dealer's answer is, well, less than ideal. They're gonna sell nukes here, or rather, kits for making them. Low-maintenance nukes that don't require that much yellow cake. This arms dealer and his people are planning to capitalize on this new market, as they predict they'll be paid with rights to mine the land for plenty of diamonds and oil. And this is already on top of them selling weapons for war. With all that, they'd be in it to make some serious Rockefeller money. Holy slime. This is so shady that even the PF official wants nothing to do with it. The agreement was for him to be moved out of this war zone after the inspection, but after that, he is done. Can't really blame him. And to add insult to injury, the arms dealer might have ties to XOF, as it seems he knows about the dealings at the Devil's House. Well, that's all there is to hear. Time to take the PF official. I decided to take the arms dealer as well. Maybe he has some information to give. The side objectives are worth mentioning for basically just one reason. One of them asks you to extract the material crates from one of the hangars. But if you'll notice, they can't exactly be taken to the sky from here. And at the moment, there is no way to be able to do it. This is the first side objective that's completely impossible at this point in the game. You don't even have the ability to craft the upgrades needed until way later. I just thought it was worth mentioning as it's the only one that's like that at this point. Aside from that, the helicopter drops a blueprint that you have to pick up, but there's not much else. It seems that this PF official ain't so bad after all. The people in charge of perpetuating the cycle of war in this area are the arms dealers group. And speaking of him, we put him in jail. He doesn't know anything that we don't. Even if he did have something to do with the Devil's House, he doesn't know why it was facilitated. He's not very skilled at anything either. He won't be useful to Diamond Dogs. So now I kinda regret not killing him. I'll say, I am beat. So much stuff has happened since we got to Central Africa in such a short amount of time, and I haven't given myself much time to rest. It's just been non-stop. But I think I've got enough in me for one more mission. 75% of one worst case scenario. Let's see what's next on the list. So, as was brought up quite extensively before, tons of people are dying from this disease, to the point that multiple bases are being wiped out with quickness. The only people it doesn't seem to affect are children. That would explain why Shabani didn't have a full growth. He was a teenager. So all those child soldiers being trained by the PFs are suddenly left with nothing. All they know how to do is fight, so taking care of themselves would prove to be an exercise in futility. But then out of the blue, a new kid shows up, and he knew how to do everything to survive the harsh environment. He quickly became their leader, and with his guidance, not only could they survive, but they could thrive as well. Due to him being the only one of these kids with light skin, he earned the name Nyoka Ya Mpembe, the White Mamba. Or as the opening credits for this mission say, Eli, good work guys. This group has gone on to become quite an issue to the locals. They've attacked and taken over a few other villages. And this is where we come in. Much like with that PF that attacked us, if we take down the leader, the rest should stand down. Although I'll be sure to not do this in the same way. After all, I am not a monster. Should be easy enough. I'll go in with nothing but stun and trank weapons. And as to not put too much GMP into the deployment, I'll go it alone this time. They're just kids, and it's a small village I'm going to, so I can handle it. Alright, time to make like a mid-2010s commentary channel and bully some children. I've dropped off right next to the village in question, so it's not a long walk. Although I can get a good look at a guard post on the way there and see how these kids operate. Their placements are a bit messier than their adult counterparts, but if anything, that might make things trickier. I suppose we'll have to see for ourselves. Funny, this is the first place we saw when we came here, and it was the first place that we saw child soldiers. Now it's been overrun by them. I'll be extra careful not to be seen. Who knows, their aim could be sloppy and team-killy. It seems that I didn't take them seriously enough though. They've got a prisoner. Don't know for what reason though, just a punching bag? Well, either way, she won't be staying here. If I were to guess, this white mamba would be in this abandoned ship. Seems like a place that a kid would want to be. There's not too much resistance going up there, so lucky me. Okay, I think I hear someone up there. That must be our man. Alright, show's over. Time to pack it up and leave, kid.
Pedina ange yandi, yina yabo ke bangaka, nyoke yampembe?
Oh. Got tired of being able to fly?
No.